Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/slash relationship advice, where OP is let's just say he's a really interesting fellow. Let's begin. 20 years ago, I was cheated on, but was never told the full truth. How can I get the truth, and does it really matter if I do? Posted by Reddit user Tragedy25.
20 years ago this year I was cheated on by my wife. D-Day for me was June 10th, 2002, around 1 p.m. For reference, we'll call OM for the other man. We'll just call my wife, and basic titles like mom and dad to keep anyone from being embarrassed. Short backstory. My mom and dad had been telling me that my wife had something going on with OM for 3 or 4 years at that point. Even on my wedding day, my dad warned me. OM was in our wedding and a good friend to me for about 10 years, so I was blinded and always argued that my wife wouldn't do that. On August 18, 2001, my dad died. I did not take that well at all. But in the aftermath of hearing the sad news, I noticed that my wife and OM walking very close on my mom and dad's street, and whispering to each other as punched a 1967 Ford Fairlane and let my frustration out about my dad. I noticed the OM was jumpy when we spoke that night after the news broke. It was the first time I thought my parents may be right about my wife and OM. I was a mechanic and I learned that from my dad. So after he died, I couldn't work on cars without hearing his voice. It was hard on me. So I took a job with OM at Wally Word, if you know what I mean. He knew my schedule. In fact, he was friends with the boss, and as I found out later, he made sure I was on night shift. I didn't know that at the time, but when he talked to them about hiring me, he told them I wanted night shift. Anyway, so during this time my wife says that I changed, and I may have. My dad dying hit me really hard. But she was bitchy, and I couldn't do anything right for her. She was always going to his house and taking care of his little girl that he had with his ex that left him because he would get very violent with her. He was on child support and got his baby girl 2 weeks out of the month. So, my wife would go down there and watch the baby. Or at least that's what I was being told. Also, our house was a quarter mile from the OM, who helped us find that house. We even lived with him for a week because the house wasn't available yet. Yes, I know this all is so obvious now, but at the time I thought we were friends. So, during all this there were times that when I got off work my wife would pick me up and yes, OM was with her. There was a Star Wars episode 2 we went to that now is still a trigger for me. One night I was at work, my mom called me at work and told me that there was a Mother's Day dinner at church that she and my wife went to. She told me that my wife was very dressed up and had a very pretty dress on. But the problem was that my wife didn't stay at the church very long at all. She was in a hurry to leave. My mom said for me to watch out because there's something going on. To this day my wife says she went straight home and changed clothes and just waited for me. That nothing happened. So fast forward to Monday, June 10th. I had been at band practice on the Friday night before. So on Monday OM comes to me at work teared up and says my wife gave him a BJ while I was at practice. So I go to her job down the street from my job. It's around 1 or 2 p.m. and she should be there. I know she went to work that morning because I said goodbye to her when she left that morning. But she wasn't there. They told me she went home sick. I think she went home because she knew he was going to tell me. So I get home and confront her. At first, she said he was lying to me. But then she busted out crying and said yes, it's true. I went crazy. So, the story OM told was that it's just the BJ, a one-time thing. But my wife says that they had been making out for about a month, some touching and kissing. Now I know about trickle truth, but back then I didn't know what it was called. But I believed even way back then there must be much more to the story. So, I take her to OM's house later in the day. But before we went down there, I called OM's dad to tell him out of respect that there could be some trouble on their land. To my surprise, he knew about it already and said his son had stolen my wife, and I deserved it. I was hot at that point all over again. So we go down there and we're all screaming at each other, but I could tell that my wife and OM looked like a couple arguing. My wife at one point said, "But you told me you loved me." OM's reply was, "I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that." There was a lot said that day, but that one sticks with me. Anyway, she says that OM had told her that I slept with one of my exes, but I didn't. But she said that was why she did it. She also said that I wasn't paying her any attention because I was going to band practice all the time or working while she wasn't home. But they both swore that my mom and dad were wrong about them earlier on in the story. I don't believe that at all. There's no way that is true. Unless my mom and dad are prophets. She says that the fling only lasted the month of May into the first week of June. She said that the BJ happened on Friday, and that sad she went over to OM's house and broke up with him and he was mad. That OM told me hoping that I would break up with her, so he could have her. I believe this part is true. She says nothing but touching and kissing. and sweet talk happened the rest of the time, and it only started the month before. I do not believe. The Saturday of June 15th, my boss told me to clock out and go home and check on my wife. That he had heard news that something was going to happen with my wife and so I did. I raced home to find the in my yard dropping off a small boat that I had given him. He told me he felt bad about everything and felt like he needed to return the boat I gave him. My wife was inside with the door locked and looked crusty, like she just woke up. This was early in the morning. This was also when I found out had been helping them with making my schedule. I think he was using the boat as an excuse to come talk to my wife without me there. So, for about a year we fussed, broke up, got ready for divorce. I ended up dating the girl that I was accused of cheating on her with. Yes, that was revenge. Finally, in 2004, we got back together. We never divorced. We moved on and had kids, and everything in life that married couples do. The problem is, I don't like the lies. They're so obviously lies. We just swept it under the carpet. While I love my wife and family very much, this needs to come out. I told her that she wants me to forgive her, but I can't until I know the truth. But she swears that I already know everything. But then last year she tells me that a part she left out is that she thinks is gay and was in love with me. And that's why he wanted to mess us up, to get with me. That's also why he didn't try to sleep with her. Man, I don't know what to think about that one. I really don't. Another part to this is about 2 or 3 years earlier I had to drag the off his GF that was pregnant with OM's baby girl. He was beating her because she wouldn't abort the baby. He was scared of child support. But my wife saw him do that. She knew up close that he beat his women and still did it. Anyway, I am hoping for help asking people on Reddit because we can't afford a marriage counselor right now. Am I wrong for letting this stuff come back up? We're great as long as I don't ask about this, but we live in a small town and I see him every other day. It seems like, anyway. Does it seem like I could be wrong about my suspicions that this was lies and gaslighting? I knew way before D-Day she was cheating. My friends, family, and bandmates had been talking about it for over a month. Anyway, thanks for reading if you made it this far. Any help is appreciated. To be clear, the specifics of any sexual activity they may have done isn't really the problem. The problem I have is the possibility of lies that could be still going on. On the night my dad died, he talked to me about his money and that it was in my name. He wanted us to help my mother with it. He was very worried that my wife was cheating with the and scared that she would divorce me and take half of the money. This did not happen, but I told my dad that she wasn't going to do that. I feel like such a fool. Stuff like this is what bothers me. My last conversation with my dad was a lie. Or at least I think it was, but I didn't know it was. How was he right? What did he see? Why didn't I see it? Why the story with more holes than Swiss cheese?
Ah, man, OP, come on, dude. You poor, poor fool. OP, if you really want the truth about her lies, about her affair, 20 years later, you should know something. You should know that it doesn't really fucking matter anymore because she already won. She already got the best of you because you're still with the fucking bitch.
Why are you still here?
The truth from 20 years ago doesn't mean shit. What matters, though, is the truth 20 years from now. Answer me this. Does she make you feel the same way she did 20 years ago? Because clearly, you have a reason to continue feeling this way. If I were you, I would try and catch her now to see if she's anything like before. Go through her phone, see who she's been talking to. Because I guarantee this to you, OP, she never once stopped cheating on you your entire marriage. OP, something is triggering you. Your gut feeling is screaming at you about how you feel now. And you're ignoring it like you did before and trying to focus on something fucking completely irrelevant. I don't know what kind of advice you are seeking here, OP, but what I am sure of is that regardless of how good the advice we give to you, you will just ignore them. Just like how you ignored the warnings and advice of your parents, friends, and family from 20 years ago. OP, you had just become the laughingstock of your community because you are the caretaker of the town's bicycle. Whatever pain you're going through right now is your own damn fault. And I hate to say this, OP, you deserve it. Good luck to you, Simp Lord. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to Patsun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.